Welcome back to another episode of the Sit Down with Sibs, where each week I sit down with some of South Africa's most well-known faces. This week, we're a little bit further along Bree Street, at 114 Bree Street, at the Iron Steakhouse. And this week, we sit down with South African Bachelor, Marc Buckner. The concept of the Iron Steak and Bar was born out of the recession which occurred in the UK in 2008-2009. Steak was extremely expensive at the time, so restaurants started looking for less popular options. And the one that was most popular amongst them was the flat iron cut, which is the shoulder of the cow. If the cut is cleaned correctly from the sinew and silver skin, it is the second most tender steak available, other than the fillet, which is the first. The flat iron they serve is a 200 gram steak, and is recommended to be cooked at 55 to 60 degrees Celsius, which is medium. They can, of course, cook your steak to your preferred temperature if the medium isn't to your taste. The Iron Steak and Bar are extremely conscious about the quality of the meat that they use and where it comes from. Their meat is all dry-aged, grass-fed, and is locally sourced from only the best butchers. Their grill is entirely handcrafted and is imported from Spain. And it's the first one of its kind in Cape Town. It's an open-fire charcoal grill, which they then throw wood chips over the charcoal to produce a wooded smoke flavor. They also have a charcoal oven, which cooks up to about 350 degrees Celsius. The oven seals the meat, locking in the moisture and the flavor of the steak. Their bar is based off the 1920s environment when classic cocktails and highballs were all the rage. They only use the highest caliber of spirits and ingredients in order to make the highest caliber of drinks. As mentioned earlier, this week, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Marc Buckner, South African Bachelor Season 2. Marc is an avid outdoorsman, a lover of his pet dog Luna. But this week, I get to sit down and discuss a little bit more about the man, how he was like before The Bachelor, what are some of his interests, and how he's been keeping busy during lockdown. This week, Marc and I sit down. Okay, how's Marc? How are you doing?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Unusual times, but makes life a little more interesting, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
Story to tell later on.
Yeah, how's your lockdown been?
I'm trying to come up with new ways of doing everything in life.
Yeah.
So I guess lockdown's brought an opportunity to change things up. So I've always been for that. But yeah,
What's your sort of like lockdown schedule been like?
a lot of admin on the phone. But I trade online. And I was doing, before lockdown, I was doing a lot of short-term rentals in my places, but now I've had to change all of that and put long-term tenants in all of them, which is a bit of a knock financially compared to what it was.
Yeah, it's been tough for everyone.
Yeah, because you don't know how long it's going to be, so I could just hold off, or I could just rather get tenants for the next year, but maybe we carry on through December, January, and then that's the whole season.
Yeah, what sort of trading do you do?
Cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Yeah,
How long have you been involved in that?
I started. So I heard about it about 8 years ago. A friend of mine said, I was in Germany, and he said, let's buy this mining machine, €2,000 each, and then we're going to make this, and it was like a euro or a dollar for a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then I kicked myself when it was 370,000 Rand per one. So and then I watched it fall. Because then I thought, okay, now it's spiked, it's caused a bit of interest. I watched it fall till it got to about 80,000 Rand, and that's when I started buying in. So 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, Matt, so you actually do quite a lot of stuff outside of sort of being like a personality.
Yeah. So I do the trade, but I always bought and sold shares. I wasn't really trading. That was in listed companies in South Africa, and then the modeling and all of that.
And then eventually The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Which is probably what most people are going to be watching.
Yeah. In South Africa at least.
Yeah, exactly. What did you do? Let's talk. I want to get to The Bachelor, but let's talk about other things you did before.
Yeah.
What was your career before The Bachelor? What did you do?
So I started modeling, I think I was 16. I was approached in school, and then I put it off because I was very shy. And modeling changes that very quickly. And then started traveling. I was 17. I went to Athens, cried myself to sleep every night because people were so rude. And then Hamburg, and then so it's been about 21 years of that.
21 years. Raised in Durban, bottle boy, gone.
Yeah, well, I left Durban before and then came to Cape Town, and I guess, the whole industry's here. And then I scouted at school at Camp Spare High. Not that I was at school most of the time.
And what did you do? A lot of traveling, or were you mostly based in Cape Town? Or?
I did. So I would do a season out, and then I would do our local season, which is September to March, which all the foreign clients come here then, and then I'd leave for our winter. So endless summer for 21 years.
That's amazing.
Not so bad. Yeah.
That's kind of the life that every guy sort of wants.
Yep, and also, I mean, because you're staying in modeling houses when you're younger, you know, you're staying in modeling houses, and then you've got everything set up for you. It's not easy though. I mean, because it's another language, and back then less people spoke English, and you were going to smaller cities and all of that. And then I was just using what money I had, because you get an allowance, which is very little. Try and survive, and I had no money at the time.
So how does it work? A modeling agency will say you'll come over here, and then you'll sign with them. They'll put you in a house, give you an allowance.
So this is where everything's determined on how much they actually want you. So they would offer you a contract. So I did Japan and China. Those contracts are more solid, and they give you more. But they'll say, okay, we've got about $20,000, which you can spend and use, which will cover your apartment, it'll cover your an allowance per week, it'll cover your cards and all of that, and then you work it off, and then whatever you have at the end of the day is, so you hear this big number and you think, oh, I'm going to get all of this, but no, that's just to cover things, but you actually pay them back. You have to pay them back.
Depending on how many gigs you get whilst you're there. Yeah. And what happens in the off chance that you don't get any gigs when you're there?
Thankfully, I never had that situation. But I don't really know. I mean, I think some models just run. They just flee the country. I mean, generally, but they do their homework. You know, they're going to make it. That you have to pay it back.
What sort of markets? You say you're big in China and Japan.
So I did China for a few months. Yeah, no, it's a thing. I did so Japan, all over. So started in Greece, Germany every year. I always did at least a month or two there. I've done the States, New York for a while, for a year almost. China, Japan, all over China. Even going off to Mongolia, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Shanghai, obviously Beijing. I did Osaka, Tokyo. But then you're traveling all the time. So you're always going to different cities and other countries around. So Italy, I went to Paris a few times, London, I did 4 seasons there. You're
quite an outdoorsy guy, so I can probably take the punt that you probably liked more of the rural sort of countries.
Exactly, especially I love Asia.
Yeah, so, I can imagine you did.
Yeah, so Mongolia was a big thing for me. But then if I went to Europe, instead of Hamburg, I'd rather be in Munich. I had a bicycle there, and I had skateboard and a rollerblades. That was my transport.
Okay. Where was your favorite place to go?
Favorite? It depends on so many things. Croatia was one of the most beautiful. I was in Split, and I can't remember the other city, but it was probably one of the most beautiful countries that I've been to. I love Mexico. I love the people. So before we were talking about the Bachelor, before I signed on to do the Bachelor, I was supposed to do 4 months. It was one of the first contracts I had signed in about 5 years, and I was going to do Mexico, but that's just cancelled.
Okay, that's quite cool. But were you much of a party guy? Because whenever I travel, that's my go-to. But you're much older. What do you do when you travel?
So when I was younger, and especially Athens and China, Japan, they'll have these guys, these kind of PR guys, and they'll come and fetch you, and they'll offer you everything you want, and you can drink as much as you want. And they even certain restaurants will bring you in, and they'll say, okay, well, if we can have models in the restaurant, then you can eat for free.
That's what I know.
And we're all broke, you know, so we're all trying to pay off that debt and then start receiving money.
Yeah.
So I drank a bit more when I was a kid, and then I was over it. Probably by 22, I thought, nah, I want to be healthy. I'm done with this.
Was there any experiences with sharing that were a bit out there?
Not ones I want to have on
camera. I've got loads of those in Thailand.
I mean, the last, I'll tell you, so when I was in Tokyo, the day before I was meant to leave, I was coaxed into by my roommate, who's Australian. Don't stay with Australians.
Yeah, they're always the craziest in the world.
They drink way too much, and that's it. That's there's a career down the hill. So he convinced me to go out.
Yeah.
And all I had was my track pants and my vest, because everything was packed, and I was like, okay, I'm going to toss this stuff away, because I'd always take clothing and then just toss my old stuff. And then he coaxed me into going out. I drank so much, and there was this club in Roppongi where the Yakuza live, so Akasaka, and that's where all the gang is. And Japanese gang, and I was commenting on the one guy's tattoo. And he's like, you do not want this tattoo, because once you're in the gang, you get the tattoos, and then you're known for that. And I'd heard so many stories about these guys beating up models, and obviously then they have to get sent home because they can't work anymore. And nearly ended up in a fight because I had a few drinks with this guy, which would have been the worst thing ever. Yeah. And then I remember, it's all a distant memory, but I remember getting into a Mercedes with a bunch of European women, and I was thinking, I need to get home because my flight's leaving in a couple of hours. I had to quickly rush, get them to drop me off, and then somehow get to the airport, which I missed my flight. And then took the next flight out, but only because the whole thing had been delayed. So yeah, it was. Yeah, there's a few mishaps there. I've missed a few flights.
Yeah, I remember I went to Thailand when I was about 17 with my best friend's family, and we got scammed our first night. Have you heard of did you ever go to any of the ping pong shows?
Oh yeah.
Like yeah, it's an experience, eh?
You don't want to get hit with that ping pong.
Yeah. Cool. So what happened was we ended up going there, and I think we had, I don't know, around 3,000 baht or so on us. And we're walking along Koh San Road, and we keep getting told, come to the free show, come to the show, you don't pay, free drinks or whatever, or free entrance rather.
Is the drink really free though?
Yeah, and then you come in, and then you sit down. And then both of you are sat there, and then the waiter comes over and asks for a drink, like, oh, well, 2 single beers, happy days. Beers come down, then 2 girls come sit down next to her. Yeah. Then their drinks come, and then suddenly now they're drinking with you and sitting with you. Yeah. I started feeling really uncomfortable, and I'm still really innocent and like 17. Yeah. I say to my mate, dude, I need to get out of here. I'm like, let's get out of here. So we're like, cool. We leave the money for our beers on the table. And as we're walking out, these 2 big Thai ladies come to the entrance, and
were they really women?
That you don't know, but they're really burly. And then they say, "No, you must pay bill. You must pay bill." And then, excuse my accent. and then we move over and we see this bill, and it's got like drink, ping pong show, all this sort of stuff, and it comes to like 5,000 baht. And we're like, well, we don't have enough money for this. And then. Well, we have to pay it. And they say, you have to pay it. So I said to my mates, okay, cool, well, let's go draw money. And my mate's like, okay, cool, I'll go. So I got held behind as human collateral whilst my mate went and drew money from the ATM. But that was like only my crazy story that's happened.
I had exactly the same thing, but I had one drink. They didn't say the drinks were free. You get suckered in, and then but you have to have a drink when you get there. So I had one whiskey, and it was like 5,000 baht for this whiskey, and I didn't have the money.
But there's loads of those like sort of tourist traps that happen there. There's there's a big one on the jet skis.
Yes.
There's always a dent in the jet ski,
and the scooter's the same thing.
Yeah, those things are dangerous. Like that's one thing people don't realize. Like I remember. Because they have these flash floods, or these flash rains for like literally 5 minutes. You'll have a lot of these tourists, that are just riding around these scooters, and they have no idea that these things happen. And then suddenly it'll rain, and they all fall off, and they've got bandages everywhere.
I had the same thing actually. I went there. I had a breakup in Munich, and then I said to my mom, "Okay, meet me in Thailand." And I met her in Phuket, and then we were traveling around.
What a way to get over a breakup!
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I thought that was the safest option. And then I got her to join me on a scooter, and we crashed. Oil slick, but it was exactly that. There was no damage to the bike, only to me. Thankfully, not the mom. But then it was like you have to buy the whole bike. Then you're screwed.
How long was your longest relationship for that? Speaking of breakups,
most of my relationships have been about 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah,
okay, so you're quite a
3 years.
Quite a relationship kind of guy.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. From about 18, 2 to 3 years each time.
Okay, and then so let's bring it to the Bachelor then. Why did you decide to go to the Bachelor? Why did things like sort of work out previously?
I don't know. I thought, well, okay, if I do this show, the chances of meeting someone are quite slim. But I didn't know that at the time. I'd never watched any of them, right?
Yeah.
But if you did meet someone, what a story and what an experience. Yeah. And I'm not one to put experiences aside and say, you know, I'm just going to sit on my couch and do nothing. And I always say this to friends, you know, that if you want to meet someone, you got to get up and do something. You're not going to meet someone on your couch.
I always tell my mates that. Like, my mates will just sit at home and I'm like, dude, just get on Tinder or something. Just get out there. You're not going to meet girls, especially now during this lockdown.
Yeah, this is a terrible time. I feel for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
You just want to go out for a drink and then maybe, you never know.
Exactly.
But yeah, I thought, geez, I mean, I really regret it one day if I thought, you know, I'm still single and I thought, okay, well, there was an opportunity and an experience, so.
But it's quite a daunting experience. And you're dating 22 women.
Yeah.
I mean, how does one make that decision? For me, I'm already daunted by just going on one date with one woman. Now you simultaneously like meeting 22 women. I mean, what is your thinking going into that? Like,
I thought, well, if I could do this, then and it doesn't work out, then it's, you know, it's going to be easy from here on out. Because then I'll be as brave as anything, like Superman. I mean, but every time I went into that cocktail party, my heart was thumping, and I thought, like 10 minutes before, I'm going to be cool, no problem. You know, I'll have a drink, everything will be good, and then no, that didn't work out that way.
How were you selected for the show?
I don't know, but I can tell you they wouldn't let up. Because at some point I said, no, it's not for me, because then I watched a couple of the episodes from the previous year, and yeah, but we chatted a lot, because and I think I only actually said yes 5 days before they needed to release the name of who they had chosen. So I said, and then it got to this point where I think it was 4 guys, I don't really know, maybe, and then it was 2 guys, and I said, no, sorry, rather go with the other guy. Because I had other jobs lined up already as a model, and I was still doing more TV commercials then. Yeah. So, but yeah, here we are.
Was it not daunting? Because there's something I've always wondered. Because I mean, just by the nature of our country, it's very racially sort of charged, and there's a lot of people have a lot of opinions about a lot of things. And the fact that that Lee was also a model, white dude, straight, and like you just fit the typical mold of what a bachelor has been in previous years. Was there any sort of apprehension for you to go onto the Bachelor based on that, or you kind of just like, fuck it, I want to do it, this is for me?
It shifted every 5 minutes. I was like, I mean, that did stress me out, but I know who I am. I'm not racial, I'm not sexist, and there was a lot of this gender-based violence, a lot of marching going on about it, and being South Africa, we've had a lot of issues. So that's why I knew. I mean, I had to be very diplomatic in how I talk to people, but I generally am, and so I wasn't too worried, because I know who I am in that sense, and I'm not gonna say something out of turn, because I'm not that sort of person. So yeah, but it does play in your mind. I just thought, you know, I'm gonna take everything one step at a time, and as cliche as it sounds, but just figure it out from there. But yeah, I mean, I think it turned out okay.
Yeah. So the other question, or follow-up question, is that, like, everyone says there's a type. Everyone has a type, right? And you say, cool, I'm not this, I'm not that. How difficult is it to enter a scenario where there's like 22 women that a majority might not actually be your type at all? How is it to like carry on dating people? Well, actually, no. I've jumped a gun. Do you know initially that you aren't attracted to these people? And like, because there's a scene where there's like the red carpet, and you're standing at the end of the red carpet, and 22 women each are coming up, which sounds like hell.
And it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
Like, you think there's a break, but there's no break.
And then you have to keep this like smile, and and you also can't be cringe, because some of the stuff was really cringe, like future Mrs. Buckner or something like that.
That did get me.
Yeah, but what, like, going in, how did you tell them, okay, this is what I'm looking for, or did you have much of a say in who the girls were?
All I said is lifestyle-wise, someone that needs to, because I don't want to change anyone, and I don't want to be changed in the sense that it just needs to be a similar lifestyle. Someone that is outdoors, healthy, loves animals, and wants to travel, and that's all they're really focused on. Someone who does enjoy exercise, someone who does want to, does have goals, and potentially, hopefully, a career. So, you know, I don't want to be guiding and looking after and sort of mentoring and feeling like a father figure to anyone at this stage. So that was it, and I really went in with this mindset that I'm not going to think about what my type is, what my general type has been. And I have, traveling all these years, I have dated women of different nationalities, different colors, and all of that. So it wasn't a concern.
It wasn't.
So, and that's the other thing about doing the show, which is what I realized from the beginning, is that you're going to be spending a lot of time with most of the people on it, most of these women, and there will be more than if you just say, okay, I like someone that has this length hair and this color hair and all of that. You're going to move past that. So you'll get to know them on a deeper level than just that physical, whereas in a club, you might just see, okay, well, that's what I generally go for, and that's what I'm going to go for now, subconsciously. But now you're going to actually converse and learn about them.
Was it possible to get deep with them in such a... Well, I mean, how much time do you spend with each person? And was it possible to...
So you got to remember that it's actually, I think it's about 16 hours of footage that they've got. I mean, I don't know how much I'm involved in all of that footage, but it's cut down to 45, 55 minutes. So there's a lot more happening than you know behind the scenes. Nothing extreme, but there's a lot more of a conversation with each person than what you see.
Okay, so typically how long were you filming a date for?
I'd be filming almost it was 2 months, and I think I only had a handful of days off, which 2 of them I used to do a shoot back in Cape Town, and then I went back again. So I had no days off really, and a date is, there's time that you're traveling, and sometimes you're with the woman, and hopefully, because that's what I asked for. And then there's also the time of the setup of the date, because I planned the dates, but I didn't set them up physically myself. So people did that, and then at that time I'm sitting with the woman and chatting and learn about each other.
Okay, that's quite cool.
Okay, so starting with what I have on the plate over here. It is a cold charred octopus with a romesco sauce, some blistered tomatoes, a lime wedge. Very much a house favorite over here, so very much a classic iron steak starter. And then something I'm very excited about, quite new on our menu. It is a sous vide parsley crusted fillet. It has a coriander puree, some Parmesan flakes, accompanied with a sprinkle of some truffle salt. Things that I think the gentleman will enjoy very much.
So you plan the dates.
Yeah.
What's it like after the date? Because they go back to the house, they're all together.
Yeah.
You go back by yourself. You've got all these thoughts going on in your head. What's that like?
Well, you don't sleep very much.
Okay.
Because I start early, and that's what people don't realize. So the ladies kept going on about how difficult it was in the house, and it is. It's difficult for them. But it's also difficult for me because I'm on standby all day, all night for 2 months, and I'm part of all of it all the time. So when they're at home at the mansion relaxing, I'm on set doing a date, or planning, or chatting to the team about what we should do next, and all of that. So there's a lot more going on, and it's stressful because you think you're going to get sleep and you don't. Your mind's running all the time, and you're thinking now you have to make this decision soon.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hurt anyone. And it's terrible because you can, even if you just feel it's a friendship, you do hurt this person. It's going to happen twice. It's going to happen tonight at the rose ceremony, and then again a few months down the line on national television.
Yeah.
So sleep, I didn't get too much sleep. I think 3-4 hours a night.
You're not texting them, have you? You have no contact?
No, you can't now. Definitely, and I didn't look up at anyone's social media. The ladies didn't have their phones. They had them on Sundays, but I was still trying to work off mine because I had the apartments. So there's so much happening in my life behind the scenes. I had clients fighting with me because I couldn't be on set for certain jobs, for any but one. I had short-term rental apartments leaks, 3 leaks over that. I couldn't believe it. While I'm stuck in Joburg now doing this, I've got 3 leaks in Cape Town, and then issues with the plumbers, and so there were many things going on. Sorry for me, I didn't realize I turned that off.
No worries.
That was the publicity first. So there's a lot happening behind the scenes, and I did have Luna with me, my dog.
Yeah.
which was I said to them, look, I can't leave her now.
Yeah.
She's still new in my life, and what am I going to do with her? You know?
Yeah.
So Luna was there, but that also meant that I've got to look after her and walk her in the morning. So I'd wake up extra early.
Yeah.
Try and exercise, walk Luna.
Luna's pretty much your child.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, my furry child.
No, it's awesome. I'm a big dog fan.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool, man. Have you tried this?
I'm going to grab that.
So that's quite nice.
This was something I had in Thailand all the time, up in Chiang Mai, up north.
Did you eat much of the Thai food when you were there?
Yes. So whenever I travel, I always eat as much local as possible.
They have a weird, I don't know if you experienced it, but I have a really weird tradition because there were 5 of us, or there were 5 of us at the table, but that's a me clean from me later.
Yeah.
They bring out food as soon as it's done. So they don't bring out all 5 plates.
Yeah.
They'll bring out one, and then an hour later, the next person might get their food.
Yeah.
So often we'd go out for dinner and we'd be like out for like 5 hours. And each of us are eating at different like times. And it's such a weird
because
tradition.
I think it's also a culture of sharing, which is a typical Asian thing. So when I was in Mongolia and it would be on this round table and everything, the whole table turns and every plate turns. So then you can just grab and you just move the table around as you want and dish up as you go along.
Where's the best food you've had on your travels?
India.
India.
Yeah.
Why?
I would have something called thali. You eat as much as you like. I'm all about quantity, right?
Yeah.
I ate a lot of food. So you can just keep going as much as you want. It was all vegan, vegetarian mostly. And huge array. So whenever I eat and I go to another country, I try and have a huge selection. Barcelona is also, Spain's very good for paella and all that.
Yeah.
Everywhere is great. It's just different,
Absolutely. I never understood people who travel and then they'll eat Western food.
McDonald's.
What are you doing? Or have a burger at a restaurant. It's kind of like, what's the point? You can have this at home.
Yeah.
Live a little. Like getting stuck into the culture.
But certain cultures do that.
Yeah.
They want to travel around the world and make sure that they're based around, and I've seen it in short-term rentals, they want to be based around a restaurant that will serve the food that they eat.
Yeah, it's like the same. Like, for instance, to be fair, I was guilty of it because I lived in Switzerland for my gap year after school. I moved into a place which was right by Mr. Pickwick's, which is an Irish pub, because I knew there'd be loads of English-speaking people.
They're in London too.
Yeah, there's loads in London. So, I mean, I regret that a little bit. I wish I actually had immersed myself a little bit more in the Swiss culture, maybe learned a little bit more German and whatnot. Have you actually ever been to Switzerland?
I used to work there a lot.
It's beautiful. Whereabouts?
Yeah. Mostly in Zurich, but lots of tiny little towns. It's one that has the oldest church in all of Europe. I think it was at least. Yeah. And you'd walk in and all the graves of the people would be on the side, but in the floor. It was... That's unbelievable little town. Yeah,
that's very cool. I loved Switzerland. I think it's actually probably the most beautiful place I've ever been. I just loved, like, my favorite was always my train ride going into work, because I lived in Lucerne, which I think is probably the most beautiful place I've ever been.
Yeah.
And then I worked in Zug, so my train ride was about 45 minutes, but you literally riding through the mountains, and sometimes during winter with like snow caps. Just like, honestly, it looks like something out of a postcard.
Don't you wish you had Instagram back then?
Yeah, no, I did. To be fair,
really?
It's only 2016. I'm 24.
Oh, you're young. Okay,
so
younger than me.
Yeah, I'm still lighty.
Yeah.
Still got my whole life ahead of me.
So when I started modeling, there was definitely no Instagram, and cell phones were these big bricks. Even then.
Yeah.
I just remember it was Motorola and it was this massive thing. And I was so anti all of it. I mean, I was anti Instagram up until when I was in New York 5 years ago.
Has it helped your career?
In different ways. It's so I remember an ex-girlfriend following Kim Kardashian. I was like, what are you doing? Why would you follow someone? It's so sheeple-like, And so I don't really watch much on there. But it is a great platform if you've got a cause that you believe in, which is something I've been trying to push now, and then also there is work, that it's a great way of getting yourself out there. Like modeling now, It's you can't do castings. You can't. How do you really get yourself out there? Other than if you've got a decent platform that you can do it in a very positive way, which is something I always try.
What causes are you working on?
So there's something that we might do in the Serengeti and the Masai Mara at the end of the month, starting there, which is the rhino poaching, but also the Masai with the lions, that they're not hunting lions, but it's more on a community-based. So because people need to realize that they can make more money off these animals by having them around instead of killing them off and then just selling off what they've got at that moment.
Is that the Maasai thing?
Yeah.
Okay, explain that a little bit more.
So it's more then you are pushing the tourism. You know, if you have the animals, because when the Maasai come of age, they hunt a lion, and it's part of the tradition. But now they can do mock hunts, and then with the rhinos, it's if you realize that having the rhinos will bring more money to your community than just killing off all of those rhinos, and it's short-lived. And that's what we're trying to push for. But then also dogs in communities, mass sterilization, and that sort of stuff.
Those are quite worthwhile causes.
Yeah.
What else are you using your platform for?
So it's to try and get some work, because that's all been cut down quite heavily. I mean, in all forms.
Yeah.
And then this.
I see you've had some really strong views on lockdown.
Yes.
On Twitter. What's been your feeling?
I try and stay. It's much worse on Facebook. Don't look at my Facebook. I try and avoid it, but sometimes I get too frustrated. I mean,
what's been your biggest frustrations?
I'm gonna tap into something else, which will all kind of bring it together. The sad thing, and traveling around the world, you see how proud people are of their country, and South Africa, we're not really. And I think it's largely to do with our past government and our current government. And our government's not supporting people. So how do we run out there and say to the rest of the world, okay, we love South Africa, we love the people, we love everything, we love how it's being run. You can't say that. So it frustrates me that, so much is happening where people are giving of their time, of their wealth, but it's not being dispersed properly. So it, and you can see where it's going. There's obvious corruption.
Yeah.
It does get.
So I agree with you on the second part of your point, but the first part that South Africans aren't proud of their country.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
So I see it with all the travel, right?
Yeah.
When I was in India, for example, I worked on a TV show. It was. That's a story for another time, but it was a life story of a woman there.
Yeah.
And she said to me, "You're gonna get a lot of Indian followers, and you'll just see how supportive they are."
Yeah.
And I noticed it in America too. I noticed it in Europe. People are very supportive, and when a German goes out, they love it. They want to talk German. They're excited to meet another German outside of the country. We're excited to push them. We don't want to watch them fall. I find it on social media, when it's South African, a lot of people jump on and they want to see that person come off the pedestal.
Absolutely.
And that's why I say we're not proud of our people. We're not proud of. I don't know why we want to look for that negativity all the time.
Yeah.
I never had negativity on my social media, and my platform hasn't grown that much until I did the Bachelor. Whereas everyone was always positive before that.
Yeah.
So when I was in India, when I was in the States and Europe, people were always supportive.
And now you have quite a lot of trolls, I imagine.
Yeah, a lot.
What's the sort of mental toll that has on you?
Initially, it bothered me a lot.
Yeah.
And I wanted to attend to all of it, and I wanted to correct, in my opinion, correct it, and show that I'm not doing this for fame. I'm not doing this for and no, this didn't happen. But now I just let most of it slide, or I just delete it. Yeah, I always felt guilty deleting it because I thought, no, let me rather show this person that this is not how it is, in my view, obviously.
But you'll probably end up spending so much of your time doing that.
So then I just, most of the time, just delete it now.
Because did you go through any of the Facebook comments during when the show was airing? Did you ever find yourself like sitting in a hole and kind of being like, and just going through it?
I'm scared of Facebook because then I get all political.
That's the worst part. I reckon Facebook and Twitter are like, they hand out.
Twitter's terrible.
Yeah, Twitter's more
Shocking.
the younger generation trying to cancel everyone out, and then Facebook's all the dated bullies who have an opinion on everything.
What I've found is the more you look out there, the more positive and negative you're going to find. But there's a lot more negativity on Twitter and Facebook. Instagram for me is a bit safer. So before all of this, I really avoided. I didn't have Facebook linked to my phone anymore, and I was really, every now and then I'd jump in and I see something that I don't think is right, and then I'd share it. But now I've tried to rather move everything to a positive way, put a positive spin on most things. And then push out information that is factual, but that could also change direction of how.
Because it must also be weird, sort of, with the media being so involved in your life and your relationship, distorting various things. How do you find peace in all of that? Is there someone that you speak to? Are you close with your mother?
Well, so this is the thing that was on the show. I couldn't talk about this to anyone. I had a kind of confidant, but he's also working all the time. And whereas the ladies would talk to each other and they would kind of skinner about things and come up with plans, and I had none of that. I didn't even have time for that. And even now, I don't. I've never really been one to talk about my relationships with other people. I've never really been one to get too personal. So I kind of deal with it more inwardly. But so no, I don't. Because that's the thing. If you're talking about someone or a situation, people that are close to you are always going to be biased. And they're going to want to stand by you and support you. But then what if it's a relationship? What happens if things work out again? Now, everyone in your family's heard all these terrible things about this person, or whatever it might be, or outside of the country they hear about what's going on in your home country, that it's, you don't want that negative side all the time.
No, absolutely. What's the sort of the worst thing that you reckon has come out of this whole experience for you?
I think a lot of people thought it benefited me financially and for future work. But no, there's none of that at all. I mean, also the money that came in for that was really just to cover some expenses while it was.
But it hasn't negatively impacted your work, though.
It's hard to tell.
Hard to tell because of the lockdown, or hard to tell?
So during all of that, I should have been pushing my apartments. I should have been pushing the modeling as much as I wanted to get out of it at the time. I should have rather reaped as many of the benefits as I could in that period, which obviously I didn't. And now we're in lockdown, longest lockdown in the world. And the other thing is, as a model, you're working with production companies. And if they hear something negative about you or how it went on the show, they will tell the clients, the overseas clients, that hey, there's something about what happened, and it might work against your brand. So you don't know if that's ever happened. I won't be told that.
Would you ever do TV again if opportunity ever arose?
Different. The reason I think The Bachelor is more difficult than any other TV show, especially reality show, is because there are emotions involved. Hopefully all of the women were there for the right reason. I know why I was there, so I was trying to build a relationship with each person and trying to see if it would work. And so that when things go south, then it affects either both parties or at least one quite badly.
No, I can imagine that.
More than I imagine on the Survivor, who's your friend, who's not your friend, who's going to work against you. Whereas this, I actually feel something for this person. Do they feel something for me? Are they here for the right reasons? And then it doesn't work out, and then one of us are hurt. I feel maybe I find that they aren't here for the right reasons, and then I feel okay. I did also have a connection with them. But now,
how can you tell who's there for the right reasons and who's not? Is it easy to tell that?
I think you'll see on the show, although a lot of the edit you don't hear most of what I'm saying because it's cut out. But I was doing a lot of thinking, and I was trying to read body language because it is a big thing. Some people say, "No, why did you even worry with that?" Because I don't want to fall in love with someone and have these feelings towards someone that might be there just for
A little bit of fame or
a
something.
little bit of fame, yeah. And then at the end of the day, okay, offer the ring, and she says yes, and then 2 months later, I find out she's with other guys or she's not feeling the same way. I don't want to have my heart broken. So it was important.
Yeah.
And again, I always get slated for this. I kiss a lot of women on the show. I'll accept it. It's fine. It's true. It's fact. But for good reason, because it shows you a lot. And I had never really realized it until being on that show. It shows you if that person is that interested in you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I think
Oh, it's good. Great.
this does look amazing.
Thanks.
See this? Thanks.
Thanks,
I just need a knife and fork.
Yeah, so kissing someone, I mean, and surely people recognize that
You can tell when someone's actually in it or not.
yeah, and there was only once in my life have I ever felt that this was not there were a few occasions on the show that I felt when we kissed that it wasn't real.
And did you know beforehand who you were going to kiss first?
No.
Was it just kind of spare the moment sort of thing? Like, and also, sorry, did you also know when all those 22 women came, did you know who was going to be the final 2 or 3?
No.
Just from a first
Things change.
impression sort of,
Things change, and so much is going on in your head.
yeah.
Because, like you said earlier, I mean, it's you're meeting one person after the other,
Yeah.
and it's pretty stressful.
Yeah.
And it's not like you have a rehearsal for that. It's the first time I met them,
Yeah.
and I'd never heard their names before. So so much is going on, and you're thinking, how do I respond to this? And so that first meeting, I don't think it wasn't a huge thing for me. It wasn't a deciding factor in any sense.
Okay. And when did you say you knew?
Except for except for maybe one woman at this, but but then you've got the cocktail evening. That first night is very difficult because you've got to send 2 women home in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you really, and I must apologize to them. You don't know much about them. How do you make the decision? But it's got to be. That's what other people don't realize too. There can only be one. We're not looking for a.
This isn't a polygamous sort of thing.
Yeah, it's monogamous. So,
Yeah.
so how do you decide? And it's you got to make that decision on that night. You can't say, hey, can we do this 2 weeks from now? Let me spend a bit more time with you outside of the cameras.
Can I ask your opinion then on, just because now sparked my interest by mentioning the polygamy.
Yeah.
How do you view relationships? Do you think it's possible to exist outside of monogamy? Or do you still see it in a very traditional?
Yeah, I'm very traditional. I couldn't date someone knowing that they were messing around, being with other guys, and that's what that's what prevents me from doing it.
Which then leads me to another follow-up question, because there's a little bit of hypocrisy, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because you were dating 22 women.
But I don't really see it as. I see it as interacting, meeting. I didn't start dating in my mind. I didn't start dating anyone until I offered them that ring. And for me, when I offered Marissa that ring, it wasn't engagement. It was, hey, let's try this out. Let's start dating now. So when people say I was dating 22 women, I was interacting. I was learning about you. I was trying to see if we're a good match. I was hoping you would see if we're a good match or not, and tell me and show me. And if you aren't, even though maybe you say you feel we're good together, then at least I'll see that, if you feel that way for real or not.
And was there any element of guilt when you were with someone?
Every
you're like,
time, yeah.
shit, but I actually had this date yesterday with someone who was really good.
And when I first started, when he saw, then a few days later I did kiss someone else, and I felt flipping guilty. Because you know the thing is that her and I had an amazing day, and we're in my hometown in Durban, and we had lunch before, so there was a bit of time outside of the cameras that we had spent, and and she's a great person. So
I always wanted to ask you. There was a rose right next to you on your left.
Yeah.
Did she see it beforehand? Because did she know she was getting a rose then and there?
No, so the rose is always there, but I think she knew. I mean, she would have known from our interaction. Yeah.
I always look at the reactions. Like, for instance, I watched the last scene last night, and then I also watched that scene, and then I'm always kind of like, fuck, the rose was like right there. How could you not have seen that? Is the reaction really that authentic?
So the rose is always there.
Okay.
But so every single time, even if I don't offer it.
Okay.
But it's my decision to offer it or not, obviously. So
yeah.
So I guess on some of the dates, I mean, again, I didn't watch it. I watched one episode. I cringe when I watch myself or even hear my own voice notes. So it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But so it's always there. I just don't know if you see it on the final edit.
I have a question. I'll bring on my phone for this.
Okay, so I'll chew quickly.
Who styles you? Do you style yourself?
Now or on the show? Because I mean, now I do a terrible job most of the time. Bryce, he's on the show all the time, and he's styling. There was you talk about the socks.
No. This is something else, and it's very questionable that you're dressed like this. But talk me through this tie.
Well, that was all Bryce.
It looks like you're off to like a matric dance at Afrikaans school.
Sorry, Bryce. There were a lot of. I like dark suits.
Yeah.
I don't like those weird colors.
Yeah.
Too many grays or baby blues.
Yeah.
So most of the time we worked together. We had I was also trying to I wanted it to be as authentic as possible. This is me.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna fall for me and I'm gonna fall for you, then this is how we're gonna be outside of the show too. You know.
Yeah.
So even down to the way that I dress.
That's cool. I like that. I'd probably follow a very similar. Because the thing is, I struggle with people dressing me. Because like I often do commercials and things like that, and they'll dress me up, and I kind of feel so uncomfortable in these clothes. So I'd probably have the same sort of mindset. What do you feel comfortable in? Like what sort of clothes do you wear usually?
Track pants and a vest.
You're very outdoorsy sort of guy.
And then I'm always ready for action. That came out badly. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Alright, cool. What? Justin's laughing there on camera. What sort of outdoor stuff do you do?
Nowadays, I'm like a lazy old fart. I mostly just go for hikes with my dog.
Cool.
Yeah, but
and the gym?
Yeah, so I now I do a bit more gym again. But if I'm traveling and there's everything and anything, then if there's snorkeling, then I'll be doing that. I used to mountain bike a lot.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of sport. Rugby, kickboxing.
What position do you play?
8th man.
Yeah,
Favorite.
Nice. Were you at a boys' school?
No, I went to Campsbury, but I played a bit in Italy, in Rovigo and Bolzano, Avezzano, all around there, Rome. But actually, so I was in Thailand a lot. I would go there. I would be in Germany, used up all my Schengen days, and I'm done with this, and then go to Thailand and spend all my money there. And I would do as much kickboxing as possible, traveling from one city to the next. And then I had personal trainers in each city that
I'd love to do like Muay Thai in Thailand.
Yeah. Because they break you though.
They break me.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah.
Jump on your back and they'll try and make you flexible. Jump on your crotch,
Sure.
so you don't feel anything.
No, it just sounds horrible. I'm a big UFC fan. I love MMA. Do you watch much of it? Mm-hmm. Don Madge will actually be on the show in a few weeks. Yeah, I've been following Don Madge literally. Kid you not, me and my friend when we were 13 or 14, we used to send each other his knockout videos. So it's crazy to actually see him where he is now in the UFC. But yeah, I'm a big UFC fan. Of course, I used to be a casual.
Yeah.
But I think this year I've just been obsessed.
Yeah, that's my motivation for the day.
Yeah.
I'll put on a UFC or MMA motivation videos on YouTube, I watch that and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go.
Their psyche is so different.
Yeah.
Those guys go in the ring or the octagon, and they're willing to die every time.
But also the training. So I watch the training videos, and a lot of my training is that. So I'll do bar work or just one Olympic bar. I'll do everything with that.
What's your diet like with your training?
So I normally do intermittent fasting.
Okay.
Actually, so the other thing, when I was living in the States, in New York, I was a personal trainer, but more of a lifestyle health coach. I would shop for people and train them to do intermittent fasting, eating 1 to 2 meals a day.
Okay.
But now, things have changed. I've been doing the lockdown diet, which is eating all day, every day, as much as possible.
It's tough to keep yourself motivated at gym when you're at home all the time.
Yeah.
That's why I really wish this lockdown ended earlier, because it's been like tough on a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like, I was just thinking about gyms, for instance. Like, gyms are still not technically open. I've been fortunate that I've gymmed at a gym that opens up to like 1 or 2 people, and I've seen you there a few times. But I mean, it's like, I find it so horrible that people for literally 4 or 5 months have been expected to live off nothing. And I mean, Virgin Active is retrenching how many staff?
Yeah, because the government at the last minute decided to tell them they can't open when they had plenty of time.
One thing I've never understood about this whole thing, I've said this almost from day one, is that if things can open up in a safe way, why are they not opening up? And I don't get people's hesitation that, oh, don't open this up, don't open this up. If gyms can open up to say 10 people at a time, if it's a small gym, each of them are socially distancing, wearing your masks, sanitizing the equipment afterwards, why can't things open up? And it's just sort of like, for me, it feels like the backwardness of our leadership, because it just seems like the logical thing to do. Why?
At this point, it must be.
Why cripple the economy?
To open it up for more corruption and to cause businesses to shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hesitant to say these things, but
yeah, I mean, I think you can say it on this platform at least. But I'm very skeptical of this whole lockdown, especially now more so than ever, because it's very difficult to see that this is in the best interest of the people. Because there's 3 million job losses, and I know I talked about it in the last podcast, but there's 3 million job losses, and there's literally no sign of, at least by the time of the economy opening up again.
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
But you know,
why are you maintaining the alcohol ban, the cigarette ban, for instance? Yeah, sorry.
We'll feel this for a lot longer than we think.
Yeah.
10 years from now, it'll still be a thing.
Yeah.
And the damage is caused. Companies are not going to be opening up in South Africa. That great companies and great businessmen will never be heard of now, because they've been crippled before they even got a chance to start.
Yeah, and you look at Heineken, for instance, pulling out.
Yeah. So many, and that's the other thing. Years from now, countries will be too skeptical to get invested into South Africa, because they don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot more behind the scenes, and
I think the post-mortem of this whole thing is going to be quite horrific.
I just hope that there will be, that people will actually see, and this will hopefully open us up to what's really going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we don't know.
Yeah.
Do you want to try some of this, by the way?
Yeah, why not?
You only get one piece, so you better make it good.
I'll go. I'm going with this. How do you find this?
I'm choosing the fatty. I'm all about the fat.
Nice.
Very good.
I've actually been training quite a bit at the moment as well. I'm actually aiming for the men's health cover.
Oh, good.
It's my big goal. Ever since, because I know Sib quite well, and ever since I saw him on the cover, I was literally like, I have to do that.
I was thinking when you showed me the video of him eating pizza, I was thinking, no, Sib. I saw you on the cover of Men's Health the other day. What are you doing?
No, he says I've done my men's health. I can eat
now he's just going to get chubs.
That's exactly what he says. I don't think he'll ever get chubs.
He's got too much energy. He's wired all the time.
Absolutely. I wish I had a little more of that. But no, he's a really good guy.
Green tea.
What gives you energy?
Black tea is my drink of choice. I drink that all day long when I want to feel good. But actually, funny enough, that was my main goal when I started modeling. Because I was always reading like those old men's health magazines, and I was thinking, geez, if I could be on the cover one day.
Be careful. You haven't been on them? Well,
I've done a lot of covers. I've maybe 12
men's health covers.
Yeah.
That's nice. Eh?
I think I was the youngest on a cover because I was about 18 or 19. And there were 3 guys on the cover. That it was an unusual edition.
Yeah.
But I was 18 or 19 on the cover.
How did you prep for each cover? Was it all the same amount of training, or is it kind of just easier?
It was always different, but I tried everything. I would I'd do the carb loading and then dropping, carb cycling. I would have no carbs for 2 weeks, and then I'd have a ton of carbs for 3 days, which was the best thing for me ever. That worked very well. I even did the salt loading.
Yeah.
I have a ton of salt, and then I have no salt. Ton of salt, and then no salt because it pushes out the excess water. I tried. I think they all worked. So when you have a goal, as long as you're doing something and you're doing something different, and you've got that goal in mind, and you're focusing on that each time, then you're always gonna get benefit.
Absolutely. So my goal is to have it by 28. I mean, that's quite a long time.
No, man, it must be within the year.
I hope so. I put on 2 kilos, and I've been doing this for about 2 months now. It kind of goes up and down, That's the worst bit, because I sort of thought it would go like all like that.
No, but that's why you need to change all the time. Change it up. So change your diet all the time, and that's why carb cycling works. So 3 days high carbs, 2 or 3 days no carbs, and your metabolism gets spiked each time.
That's interesting. I'm gonna look into that.
So then it helps you get more muscle with less fat. And
are you taking any protein shakes? Do you take?
I only do vegan shakes. I'm not vegan, clearly, but I'm not a big believer in dairy.
Okay.
So I do vegan shakes, and then I add collagen now. Thought I'd try that. Because people told me I'm getting wrinkles and stuff.
Do you ever have any cheat meals?
No. See, that's the one thing for me. I'm very consistent. I wasn't the first time in 10 years. I wasn't very consistent with the training during this lockdown because it affected me mentally, like most people, right? Finances were going down. I couldn't get tenants, and I've got all these overheads. I set these apartments up to be short-term rentals, and I couldn't get anyone.
Yeah.
And then the modeling, it just ceased entirely. Shares were collapsing. I mean, my South African shares went down fourfold. A lot of stuff, and then not exercising, and then being confined to the apartment all day. It was, but So then I went back to eating as healthy as possible, and I know that if I don't do cheat meals because I just don't see the point. I can eat. My cheat meal will be a ton of dates and fruit, and that makes me feel good. Or the best biltong, Wagyu biltong.
Yeah.
Which it was last night.
That's actually what I miss the most when I travel, is having a good biltong. Yeah, we by far. Have you ever had beef jerky when you're in the States?
Oh.
Could you compare it?
Not good.
Not good. That's what I've heard.
Not good at all.
Yeah. But Mark, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciated having you on. All the best.
Well, we must do another one.
Yeah, I'll be keen.
Soon.
I'll be keen, definitely.
Cool,
Keep
man.
up, man.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite.
Sure, anytime.